you, Madam Vice Chair. Appreciate greatly your warm welcome and hosting us along with the clerk and your fellow commissioners. Thank you very much. And to all those who work here every day, on behalf of the residents of Union County, appreciate your warm welcome. Appreciate Clerk Rajapi's tireless efforts in serving the Union County community, and to two New Jerseyans who will be joining us shortly and sharing their own stories, Cheyenne Murray and Genaro Enrique Rojas. I appreciate them joining with us and talking about this issue. In a moment, they'll each have an opportunity to share their personal story with the passport renewal process, and we thank them for being here. It's great to be back in Westfield to host this event here at the Union County Clerk's Office, where local residents come for a number of services that can be fulfilled. We don't often think about the county clerk's office this way, but in a very real sense, this office is the nexus for many of life's important moments and memories. It's where 18-year-olds can come to fulfill their civic duty and register to vote for the first time. It's where two people in love can apply for a marriage license to begin their lives together. And it's crucially for residents where folks can come to begin the process of renewing their passports. As we come out of a once-in-a-generation pandemic that shut down global air traffic, it's no surprise that there is an enormous pent-up demand for international travel. After all, few things are more satisfying than booking a flight, exploring an unfamiliar country, and seeing a customs officer stamp your passport as they say welcome in the local language. But whether it's a dream getaway for the family, reuniting with friends and families overseas, heading to a destination wedding, or simply the weekly ritual of travelers who are in business, every American needs a valid passport to fly the friendly skies. And in most cases, that passport expiration date needs to be valid at least 6 months after the date of travel, which is why we're hosting this event, to encourage New Jerseyans to look before you book. Look at your passport before you book. Look at that page that has your picture on it, and at the very bottom, it'll tell you what your expiration date is. And if that expiration date is already expired, or if it's less than 6 months, if you're traveling abroad, then you need to get a new passport, which is why we're hosting this event today, to encourage New Jerseyans to look before you book. Before you plan your trip, before you book the flight, the car, the hotel, look at your passport and make sure that it will be valid at the time of your departure. Because if you don't, if you let that date or that window go by, your dream vacation can quickly turn into a nightmare scenario. Now, I can't tell you how many times I've had New Jerseyans, those who either know me personally or have access to my number, call me up in panic on a few days before a trip or on a weekend where they are going to take a trip. Some of those trips are simply for a family vacation. Others are because they are going to see a loved one who is ill and say their last goodbyes. Other times it's about an important business trip, and they say, Senator, my passport is expired or will be expired. Now, we do the best we can in such emergent situations to try to find an opportunity at one of the passport agencies in our region to try to get them an appointment. But there's no way that we can deal with the number of emergencies that can pop up. As Clerk Rajapi can attest to, we have seen a dramatic surge in demand following the lifting of COVID restrictions. Compounded by a backlog created during the height of the pandemic, there's been an unprecedented increase in processing time for new passports and renewals. Now, there's no question that the clerk and her team are seasoned professionals. Over the years, they've seen just about every situation imaginable, and they have earned multiple awards of excellence from the National Passport Center as a result. But despite their accolades, their deep wealth of knowledge, and their top-notch attention to detail, clerk's offices can't control the time it takes to process passport applications. Clerks and their staffs throughout New Jersey, they're the unsung heroes in our community. They labor month after month through incredible challenges, but at the end of the day, they can only act as your conduit for your application. The actual review, approval, and issuance of passports is handled by the Department of State in Washington, which is why, after hearing the reports of what's happening on the ground, after being inundated with calls from constituents who are confused, often panicked, about whether they'll receive their passports in time, I have been pushing the powers that be to take action. Earlier today, in my capacity as chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee that has jurisdiction over the State Department, we sent a letter to the State Department commending the recent launch of a task force to speed up passport renewals and bring down wait time, something I've been calling for. I also called on the department to fix an online passport initiative which was reportedly giving users trouble before it was suspended earlier this March. But despite these proactive steps, there's still more that has to be done. In addition to today's letter, I've also asked my colleagues on the Appropriations Committee, asking them for more funding to support passport processing. This ask is in line with my broader strategy to reform and modernize the State Department as it confronts the challenges of the 21st century. To be sure, the State Department needs to get the big things right. It needs to confront Russian aggression and Chinese economic coercion, all while advancing American foreign policy on the global stage. But the State Department also needs to get the little things right, maybe little to them, but the mundane details in daily operations under its purview, which includes passports. They need to get that right as well. Make no mistake, if it was up to the clerk's office and their dedicated public servants across New Jersey, renewing a passport would be a breeze. But unfortunately, this isn't the case. Instead, we've only seen the national backlog grow as wait times get longer and longer. It shouldn't take a crisis. It shouldn't get this bad before we see action out of Washington. And that's what today is all about. The best thing that residents can do if they're thinking about traveling, if you're thinking about any possibility that you may go somewhere that is outside of our country, then begin the process early. Take your passport out of your filing cabinet, maybe your safety deposit box if you have one, out of your drawer, take a look at it, and make sure that you look at it before you book, and make sure that your date isn't expired at least for 6 months. It will save you and your family headaches and heartburn down the road if you get the applications in early. Now, before I turn it over to the clerk, I just want to end with this. I recognize that the best laid plans are sometimes upended by unforeseen circumstances. Ms. Murray, who is here with us, will describe how she seemingly did everything right and was still left waiting more than 5 weeks for her passport. In a similar way, Mr. Rojas will explain how he needed a passport renewed for his child when his own father faced a life and death emergency in Peru. Each of them made the right call. They reached out to my office to get in touch with my staff, and we were able to help them. But with all due respect to the clerks in my Jersey City office, I'm also proud to say that we have a crack team of people led by my director of casework, who is here, Eileen McCandless. I have a number of staff members who were able to connect the passport office and ask to expedite select cases. But that's my point. They're select cases. We can't do this broadly. They aren't quite miracle workers. Sometimes they're the next best thing to that. I just want to make sure that everyone knows when you and your loved ones are in need, your senator and your members of Congress are here to help, and I'm here to make sure that our office can be an expediter of that opportunity. We'll do what we can to act as your liaison on behalf of your passport, a visa, or more. It's our duty and responsibility as public servants and custodians of your sacred trust. But if you call me on a Friday and you're leaving on Monday, it's just not going to be a miracle we're going to be able to perform. Now, we have Hispanic press here. Before I turn it over to the clerk, let me briefly say a few words for them. Estamos aquí reunidos hoy en Union County con los comisionados de Union County, con la directora de todos los elementos del pasaporte y documentos del condado, la la señora Rajapi, para alertar a nuestra comunidad de que si están pensando de ir a visitar algún lugar afuera de nuestro país, que actualmente le hace falta un pasaporte y le hace falta un pasaporte que no está vencido. Por eso decimos, mira antes de que vayas. Mira antes de que vayas. Coge tu pasaporte y mira a ver, en la primera página que tiene su foto, al final dice cuál es la fecha de vencimiento. Y si esa fecha ya está vencida o va a ser vencido en 6 meses después de que te vayas, tienes que conseguir un nuevo pasaporte. Y si no lo consigues, no vas a poder viajar. Ese viaje para un viaje de familiar, o un viaje donde vas a ver a alguien que está enfermo en tu familia, o un negocio importante, no se va a poder realizar sin ese pasaporte. Así que hay esperas largas, pero si empiezas ahora, tenemos las posibilidades de ayudar y asegurar de que en lugar de una tragedia sea algo muy positivo. Mira antes de que vayas a ir a tu viaje, te aseguro que tu pasaporte no está vencido y podemos tener un momento exitoso para todo eso que están viajando. With that, let me turn to the distinguished clerk, Union County, Joanne Rajapi, for her remarks.